40-foot waves. In the middle of winter, a few hundred miles east of the mid-Atlantic, ocean swells are reaching 40 feet right now. That tells you everything about the intensity of the bomb cyclone hammering the East Coast this Saturday evening. This storm is dropping 24 millibars in 24 hours. The central pressure will bottom out at 969 millibars, equivalent to a Category 2 hurricane, and at S, creating whiteout blizzard conditions across the Carolinas as I record this. Is your city in the path of the Arctic assault coming behind this storm? Over the next 20 minutes, I am revealing exactly how much additional snow is still coming overnight, when conditions peak in your area, and why the stratospheric polar vortex splitting could trigger even more brutal cold by late February. I need your location in the comments immediately. This isn't about engagement. I am going live tomorrow morning, and I am personalizing forecasts based on every city mentioned tonight. Tell me where you are right now, what you're seeing outside, how much snow has already fallen, what scares you most about what's coming. Be specific, because tomorrow's live coverage depends on the information you give me tonight. Let me reward you for staying. Outer Banks getting crushed with 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts and whiteout conditions right now. Upstate South Carolina, 4 to 7 more inches coming overnight on top of totals already exceeding a foot in some areas. Northeastern North Carolina, 6 to 8 additional inches before sunrise. Cape Cod, 1 to 2 inches tomorrow afternoon with strong winds. Nova Scotia, brace yourself for over 20 inches and full blizzard conditions Sunday evening into Monday. But here's the truly shocking part. Wind chills in Miami and Key West dropping into the mid-20s to mid-30s. The Florida Keys feeling like February in Boston. Arctic air is pushing further south than anyone expected. The scale of what's unfolding right now is extraordinary. This bomb cyclone is intensifying explosively offshore. Current central pressure 996 millibars just off North Carolina. By noon tomorrow, 974. When it reaches Nova Scotia, 969, some ensemble model members showing this bottoming out in the 950s. To give you context, that's the same central pressure as a major hurricane. In winter, that's how you generate 40-foot ocean swells. That is how you create sustained 50-mile-per-hour winds over land. That is how you get snowfall rates exceeding 2 inches per hour. Winter storm warnings blanket most of the Carolinas, Northeast Georgia, Southern Virginia. These aren't cautionary alerts. These are warnings for life-threatening snow accumulations combined with blizzard conditions. Winter weather advisories surround that core zone where travel is hazardous but not yet impossible. And look at the freeze warnings. Coastal Texas Bayou Country, all of Louisiana, southern Georgia, and southeast Alabama. Every county in Florida under freeze warnings. When the entire Florida peninsula gets freeze warnings, you know the Arctic has invaded. The reports coming in from the Carolinas are staggering. 8 inches here, 10 inches there, multiple communities already over a foot, and it's still snowing heavily. I know people in Wilmington and Raleigh are seeing dry slots and wondering what's happening. Let me explain this clearly. Dry air has temporarily infiltrated portions of the storm. This is normal with rapidly intensifying systems. That dry air is filling back in right now as we speak. Those gaps will close. Snow will return and intensify through the mid and late evening hours. When those bands set up again, snowfall rates will exceed 1 inch per hour. This continues through the overnight hours into early Sunday morning. Understanding the phases of this storm helps you prepare. Phase 1 is right now. Heavy snow across the Carolinas with the offshore low rapidly deepening. Phase 2 hits after midnight when the most intense snow bands lock in over northeastern North Carolina and the Outer Banks. Phase 3 begins Sunday morning when precipitation pushes offshore but dangerous wind chills take over everywhere. Phase 4 is Sunday afternoon and evening when Nova Scotia experiences a crippling blizzard. Phase 5 is the extended Arctic blast that settles in and dominates the pattern for days. What makes this storm uniquely dangerous is the rate of intensification. When central pressure drops this fast, the pressure gradient becomes extreme. Picture a steep hill. Air rushes down that hill from high pressure over land to low pressure offshore. That rushing air is wind. The steeper the gradient, the stronger the wind. Right now, the Outer Banks are experiencing sustained winds of 30 to 40 miles per hour with gusts over 50. That wind picks up snow already on the ground and whips it around. Visibility crashes to under a quarter mile. isolated spots reporting complete whiteout where you can see your hand in front of your face. By 7 or 8 a.m. Sunday morning, most snow clears the Outer Banks and moves offshore. Myrtle Beach and Wilmington might see lingering snow showers, but the heavy stuff is gone. Cold, dry Arctic air rushes in behind the system. That's when the real wind chill danger begins. But before we get there, we've got several more hours of dangerous snow ahead. The science behind bombogenesis is fascinating. When a surface low S central pressure drops at least 24 millibars in 24 hours, it's called explosive cyclogenesis, or a bomb cyclone. This storm exceeds that threshold easily. The upper-level energy is digging aggressively, creating intense lift. When you stack that upper-level energy directly over the surface low, intensification accelerates. Add the temperature contrast between Arctic air over land and relatively warmer ocean water, and you've got a recipe for an explosive storm. Both major forecast models have been remarkably consistent on this system. The European and American models locked in days ago. When models converge this far in advance, forecaster confidence skyrockets. Sure, the exact placement of the heaviest snow band can shift 20 or 30 miles, which matters tremendously for cities on the warning boundary, but the overall setup is ironclad. Major coastal bomb cyclone, blizzard conditions for the Carolinas and eventually Nova Scotia, life-threatening Arctic blast behind it. What terrifies me more than the storm itself is what comes after, because this isn't a quick Arctic shot that moderates in 48 hours. The pattern behind this system funnels continuous Arctic air from Canada and parks it over the eastern United States. This will be the coldest air of the entire season, not just for the eastern U.S. in general, but specifically for Florida. When the upper-level trough digs over Florida in early February, temperatures absolutely crash. 5 minutes in, just like I promised, here comes your detailed city-by-city breakdown. I am mixing up my delivery because listening to a robot read a list for 10 minutes is torture. Let's start where conditions are most severe right this moment. Upstate South Carolina, you are in the absolute thick of it. Communities already buried under significant accumulation. 4 to 7 more inches coming overnight. That's on top of what's already there. Some areas will end up with 15 inches total before this ends. Roads are completely impassable. Power outages multiplying as heavy wet snow snaps tree limbs onto power lines. If you are in upstate South Carolina tonight, you are staying put until Monday minimum. The Outer Banks, you are experiencing the absolute worst conditions right now. This is where the storm is geographically closest to land. Wind gusts consistently hitting 40 to 50 miles per hour. 6 to 8 more inches of snow through the overnight hours. But snow totals don't tell the full story. The wind is creating chaos. Massive snow drifts forming. You could measure 3 inches in one location and 2 feet 50 yards away where wind piled it up. Visibility is under a half mile, dropping to a quarter mile or less in the heaviest bands. Complete whiteout conditions in multiple locations. If you are on the Outer Banks right now, do not even think about going outside. This is genuinely life-threatening weather. Wilmington, I know you've seen dry slots and I understand the confusion. People wondering if the storm is weakening. It's not. That dry air is temporary. Snow is filling back in as I record this. You are still getting several more inches overnight. The heaviest might end by early Sunday morning, but you've got hours of accumulating snow ahead. Roads will be ice-covered and treacherous. The port operations shut down completely. This much snow in a coastal city creates recovery problems lasting days, not hours. Raleigh and the Research Triangle, same dry air situation. That is filling back in now. Snow ramps back up through evening and overnight. Sunday morning, you wake up to substantial additional accumulation on top of what you already have. Research Triangle Park completely shut down Sunday. State government offices closed. Every major employer in the Triangle tells people to stay home. This is a multi-day recovery event for North Carolina's capital region. Charlotte, you on the western fringe of the heaviest snow but still dealing with major impacts. After getting destroyed by ice last week, now you are adding more snow on top. Travel remains dangerous all weekend. The Queen City is getting absolutely hammered this winter season. Southern Virginia, you are in winter storm warnings for legitimate reasons. Substantial accumulation expected overnight. The system weakens as it pushes north, so you are not seeing what the Carolinas are experiencing. Richmond gets some snow, but nothing catastrophic. DC metro area sees some flakes, but heavy snow stays well south of you. Now let's jump to Massachusetts because your snow window is coming. Cape Cod, Sunday morning into afternoon is your time frame. The main storm energy is offshore, but the circulation is large enough to wrap precipitation back into southeastern Massachusetts. Not a major event for you. 1 to 2 inches expected. Combined with strong winds off the Atlantic, though, you'll see blowing and drifting. Visibilities drop under a half-mile Sunday afternoon. South of Boston, especially on the Cape, is where snow focuses. North of Boston sees much less. But here where this storm truly demonstrates its power. Nova Scotia, listen very carefully. Sunday evening into Monday morning, you are getting hit with a full-scale crippling blizzard. This storm passes just south and east of you as a 969 millibar monster. Some model runs showing even deeper central pressure. The tight gradient means screaming winds. Snow rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour expected across central and eastern portions. Total accumulations over a foot in many areas. Eastern sections could approach 20 inches in some spots. Whiteout conditions guaranteed. Travel will be completely impossible. You need to finish all preparation by Sunday afternoon before this hits. Those 40-foot waves I mentioned earlier tell you how powerful this system is. A few hundred miles east of the mid-Atlantic, ocean swells reaching 40 feet. Commercial shipping is routing around this area. These waves will propagate across the Atlantic Ocean and impact European coastlines by February 5th or 6th. If you're in Europe watching this and wondering where those massive swells came from, they originated from this bomb cyclone hitting the eastern United States this weekend. Moving to other parts of the country, the northern plains are dealing with separate snow. Eastern Nebraska, eastern Dakotas, western Minnesota seeing accumulation this evening. This becomes more widespread across Minnesota overnight into early Sunday. Twin Cities, Duluth, Bismarck, all seeing snowfall. This isn't a blockbuster. This is a clipper bringing lighter amounts. Maybe an inch here or there, enough to whiten the ground and make roads slippery, but not crippling totals. Snow spreads into Wisconsin Sunday. La Crosse, Madison, eventually reaching Rockford and Peoria, Illinois, plus Chicago by Sunday afternoon. Again, light amounts. Just enough to create hazardous driving. Northern Minnesota could see a couple spots getting upwards of 2 inches north of the Twin Cities by Monday morning. Not a major snow event, but treacherous if you were traveling. But here's where the situation escalates dramatically. The cold behind this storm is historic for early February. Look at the upper-level trough. By Sunday morning, it is positioned directly over Florida. That is exceptionally far south, even for February standards. When troughs dig that deep, Arctic air floods south with them. This is the coldest air of the season for the entire eastern United States. For Florida specifically, this is air you haven't experienced all winter. Wind chills Saturday evening are already below zero across much of the east. Sunday morning brings even colder readings. Wind chills dropping to single digits above zero for Tallahassee, Gainesville, Orlando, Jacksonville, Panama City. The Big Bend area of Florida looking at wind chills in the teens. Tampa Bay and Naples, teens for wind chill. Miami extending down into Key West, wind chills ranging from mid-20s to mid-30s. That is absurdly far south for Arctic air to penetrate with this intensity. The Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, Northeast experience sub-zero wind chills through Sunday. Bundle up if you must go outside. This isn't just uncomfortable cold. This is legitimately dangerous cold. Exposed skin freezes quickly in wind chills this low. And the pattern isn't done with winter weather. Late next week brings another system. Thursday morning, February 5th, energy drops southeast out of Canada into the Great Lakes. This is 500 millibar vorticity. Brighter colors mean more spin and lift in the atmosphere. This tightens up like a cinnamon roll as it digs southward. That brings cold air aloft and snow with it. You might see some lake effect and weak systems earlier in the week, Monday into Tuesday, but the real clipper arrives Friday, February 6th, coming down from Alberta. This overspreads the Great Lakes with light to moderate snow pockets, could mix with rain further west where temperatures moderate. This drops into the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. The Appalachians, including West Virginia, could see decent accumulation. The latest 12Z European model shows a couple to few inches across the Great Lakes and southern Canada. But West Virginia-S Appalachians see several inches. The GFS model at 12Z is even more aggressive with West Virginia snowfall, especially central Appalachians. We re-monitoring this closely as we approach next weekend. Long-range pattern analysis gets really interesting. Arctic air modifies across the southeast going into early February between the 1st and 8th. Mild Pacific air continues streaming across western Canada and the western U.S., especially from the plains westward. A ridge of high pressure builds across those areas, maintaining warmth and dryness. Teleconnections heading into mid-February show we re-hovering around neutral currently. That provides more flexibility in the Pacific Northwest and western Canada. Instead of guaranteed warm weather by mid to late February, maybe some colder Arctic air moves in as the East Pacific Oscillation hovers around neutral and trends positive. That opens the door for cold air out west. The stratospheric polar vortex is splitting into two lobes. The main lobe sits over Asia and Europe. Another lobe is over North America. When the polar vortex splits, it typically takes about 2 weeks for that air to leak from the stratosphere down to Earth's surface. That's exactly what models suggest could happen. Remember a week ago when I said we see a moderating temperature trend going into early February? When a major cold blast hits the eastern United States for 7 to 10 days, you typically see a rapid temperature spike afterward. I expect that spike in the second week of February between the 8th and 15th. We thaw out a bit, but the cold isn't finished. It's reloading near the Arctic. From the 15th through 22nd, notice the pattern. Cold air gets a one-way ticket from Russia and the Arctic straight down through Canada into the central and eastern U.S. extending to the Gulf Coast. Texas coastline affected, northern Mexico potentially impacted, northern Florida included. It persists as we enter the last week of February, the 22nd through 28th, especially in eastern areas. But even the Pacific Northwest could see colder air intrusions. Places like Montana and Wyoming that haven't experienced much cold this season might finally get their share. Snowfall forecast trends for early February focus on clippers dropping from Canada and nor'easter threats. From the 8th through 15th, we could see more mountain snow out west as a western United States trough develops. Lower pressure out west means mountain snow showers. The east might experience a ridge, reducing snow chances until around the third week of February. I suspect there is a bigger winter storm with heavier snow somewhere across the central and eastern United States on the leading edge of that Arctic and Siberian air. Pinpointing the exact location is impossible this far out, but there's a solid signal for the northeast to see heavy snow in the last week of February, 22nd through 28th. We'll watch this closely as we get within a month, but let's refocus on immediate threats because that's what matters right now. Snow continues falling heavily across the Carolinas as I record this. The next several hours are absolutely critical. Midnight to 6 a.m. Sunday morning is when the most intense bands lock in over northeastern North Carolina and the Outer Banks. Snowfall rates exceeding 1 inch per hour, winds gusting to 50 miles per hour, visibility near zero, life-threatening conditions. Do not travel under any circumstances. By 7 a.m. Sunday, snow starts moving offshore for most areas. A few lingering snow showers near Myrtle Beach and Wilmington, but the bulk moves away. Then wind chill danger intensifies dramatically. Arctic air floods in behind the departing storm. Sunday morning wind chills drop into dangerous territory across the entire eastern United States. Florida residents, this is cold your infrastructure isn't built to handle. Pipes in attics and unheated spaces are extremely vulnerable. Let faucets drip overnight Saturday and Sunday. Open cabinet doors under sinks allowing warm air to circulate. Protect sensitive vegetation. Cover plants if possible. Check on elderly neighbors who might not realize how cold it's getting or might keep heat too low trying to save money. Iguanas could literally fall from trees in southern Florida. This sounds absurd, but it's real. When temperatures drop into the 40s for extended periods, iguanas become lethargic and fall out of trees. They were not dead, just cold stunned. They revive when temperatures rise, but it indicates how unusually cold this air mass is for that latitude. The Great Lakes and Northeast are in frostbite territory Sunday. Wind chills well below zero. Exposed skin freezes in 15 to 30 minutes. Layer properly. Cover all exposed skin. Hat covering your ears, gloves not pockets, scarf or face covering over nose and mouth. Power outages are a growing concern across the Carolinas tonight. Heavy wet snow weighs down tree limbs and power lines. Outages already being reported and the number is climbing. If you lose power in this cold, focus on heating one room. Close off the rest of the house. Use blankets and layers. Never use outdoor equipment like grills or generators indoors. Carbon monoxide is a silent killer. Travel is essentially impossible across the winter storm warning area tonight into Sunday morning. Roads are snow-covered and icy. Visibility under a quarter-mile in many locations. Whiteout conditions in the heaviest bands. Even four-wheel drive can to help you in whiteout conditions. You literally cannot see where you're driving. Stay home. Whatever you think needs doing can wait until Monday. The blizzard hitting Nova Scotia Sunday evening into Monday will be severe. 1 to 2 inch per hour snow rates, 20 inches possible in eastern sections. Screaming winds creating massive drifts. Whiteout conditions guaranteed. This is a hunker down and wait it out situation. Make sure you fully stocked on supplies before this hits Sunday evening. Once it starts, you are not going anywhere until Monday afternoon at the earliest. Let me recap the timeline with different phrasing. Right now through midnight Saturday, heavy snow continues across Carolinas with blizzard conditions on Outer Banks. Midnight to 6 a.m. Sunday, absolute worst conditions across northeastern North Carolina. Peak snowfall rates and minimum visibility. 6 a.m. to noon Sunday, snow pushes offshore for most areas, but wind chills become the primary threat. Sunday afternoon, Cape Cod receives 1 to 2 inches with gusty winds. Sunday evening into Monday, Nova Scotia gets buried under blizzard conditions. Monday and beyond, Arctic air settles in and dominates. Coldest air of the season for the east. Dangerous wind chills from Florida to Maine. Your action items by deadline. If you are in the Carolinas, you should already be home and staying there. Do not attempt travel tonight or Sunday morning. Power outage prep should be finished. Flashlights, batteries, ways to heat at least one room if electricity fails. Nova Scotia, you have until Sunday afternoon to prepare. After that, travel becomes impossible. Stock up now. Florida and Southeast, protect pipes Saturday night and Sunday night. Let water drip. Open cabinets. These are your critical cold nights. Tomorrow's live coverage will be essential. I am broadcasting Sunday morning with verified snowfall totals from overnight. Updated wind chill forecasts based on actual temperatures, refined forecast for that late week clipper system, extended discussion on the long-range pattern including that potential major late February storm. You need to watch tomorrow's live stream. Make sure you resubscribed. We reapproaching 150,000 subscribers and hitting that tonight would be incredible. Subscribing is completely free. Costs absolutely nothing. Turn on bell notifications so you re-alerted when I go live tomorrow morning. This situation continues evolving. Model runs arrive every 6 hours. Conditions change. Forecasts update. Drop your location in the comments one final time. Tell me where you are, what you were witnessing, how much snow you've received, what concerns you most. The blizzard, the Arctic cold, potential next week's snow. I am reading every comment tonight and incorporating them into tomorrow's live coverage. The more specific you are, the more personalized tomorrow's broadcast becomes. Critical preparation reminder, snow areas, stay inside through Sunday morning. This is not travel weather under any circumstances. Wind chill areas, essentially everyone east of the Mississippi, bundle up properly, layer correctly, limit outdoor time, check on vulnerable people, elderly neighbors, anyone with medical conditions, young children. Homeless populations in every city face extreme risk. If you can volunteer at warming shelters or donate supplies, local organizations desperately need help. What concerns me most in the data is the duration of this cold pattern. This isn't a quick shot moderating in 2 days. This Arctic air digs in and holds on stubbornly. Florida gets some relief by mid-next week, but Northeast and Mid-Atlantic remain locked in below-average temperatures for an extended period. Then we monitor that potential reload of even colder air in the third week of February. The pattern we re-experiencing favors repeated systems. Clippers dropping from Canada, potential coastal storms. The polar vortex splitting creates instability, allowing Arctic air to spill southward more easily. This could be an extremely active rest of February for winter weather. See you tomorrow morning for live coverage, updated snowfall totals, verified wind chills, refined next week forecasts. You won't want to miss it. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, share this with anyone in this storm's path. Stay safe, stay warm, stay inside if you're in the warm.